Hello and welcome to this very special show on CNN IBN, where we decided to recap a little bit and get you the inside story of how we managed to cover elections 2014. This has been a unique election, it's been a unique campaign, and CNN IBN, in partnership with Microsoft, has managed to capture every single unique experience, emotion as well as dynamic to get you a full picture of elections 2014. So for the next half an hour, you'll see how this has been a fulfilling and a successful experience for you, the viewer, when you were tracking it on CNN IBN.
Helping you separate the news from the noise.
Microsoft has joined hands with CNN IBN
1 billion votes.
and one expert team.
We are presenting before you an initiative which maps out each and every single micro detail of each constituency across the country.
For instance, let's take you to Mumbai Central. This is an important constituency. Let's just quickly take you through what exactly Varanasi has seen in the past as well.
When in a flash of a second you get the answers to all those questions, you know you're on a good thing. The Microsoft Analytics Center, the X factor of our coverage.
So it's been a while since results have been announced, but we've been looking back as to how this coverage really has been unique, and we're focusing on the CNN IBN Microsoft Analytics Center. Just take a look at what we put out for you on a daily basis to make it simpler for you, to make the coverage all the more simple. 1951 to 2014, you have all the details that you need to know, how the Congress fared, how various other parties fared. For instance, in 1984, after the assassination of Indira Gandhi, how the Congress performed brilliantly well. Its best performance in the history, 414 seats. Then all the way down to 2014, its worst performance. So really breaking it down visually was the most important aspect of elections 2014 and the coverage. One of the focuses was on, of course, the constituencies. For instance, the constituency perhaps that attracted the most attention was this one right here, Varanasi, from where the Prime Minister Narendra Modi contested from. Just take a look at the kind of details that we put out for you. Whatever fact that you wanted to know was right here on the Analytics Center, from the candidates right to the last time what happened. Who were the candidates the last time around? What was the margin by which Dr. Murli Manohar Joshi won? Who were the contenders who came in very close, from political parties to candidates, and most importantly, how specific constituencies also voted. This, what you can see, is how Varanasi voted in the past, right from 57 to 2014. For instance, very few people would have perhaps known that Varanasi was also represented by the CPM in 1967. So facts like these. And joining me now to take us through some more details and some more aspects is our managing editor, Vinay Tiwari. Vinay, we've been working on this behind the scenes as well. Getting all those details and facts really was a unique experience. What really was the big thought behind this entire process?
I think, Arunodaya, the elections in India are so complex. They are so diverse. Every Indian state works differently. They think differently. It's really about a lot of data. And I think so far, nobody had been able to bring all the data from 1951-52 onwards till 2009 elections into one comprehensive omnibus platform. And I think that was the big challenge that we had. That's one. Two, mapping every single constituency from the first election to the last election and the trends of every single constituency down to the last vote polled and won by a particular candidate was something that was never done before. And this graph, as you can see, shows this particular seat, Varanasi, from the time of its inceptions, 1957 to 2014. That kind of comprehensive data play was unparalleled. And I think the real challenge was, how do you bring together every single official authoritative data onto one platform which allows you multiple kinds of analytic problems.
And another reason why, Vinay, really the coverage on CNN IBN perhaps stood out was how we broke it down visually, as you were pointing out. For instance, when we did that post-poll survey, this is the first time perhaps we could show visually in an appealing manner how this has perhaps been the NDA's best performance, when was its worst performance, and how the Congress really fared as well.
Arunodaya, this election by far was the most exciting ever. I mean, all of us as journalists have seen many elections, but you know that this was the most exciting, most keenly sought after election result. This post-poll survey was the result before the actual result. So there was a lot of excitement and intrigue about what will happen. But this data analytic tool mapped what we did as a sample study to what had actually happened in the past. And this visual representation clearly tells you what we were looking for in terms of May 16th. Congress graph, if you see, we were very clear that we will head towards the worst performance ever from the Congress. Whereas the BJP's graph very clearly showed us that this is perhaps going to be the best result that BJP has ever done since the time the party came into being. So visually, as you said, the story becomes absolutely clear for a viewer. In 10 seconds flat, you can actually get a sense of what the results are likely to be.
And in TV, you need to be concise and you need to be absolutely precise as well. When one final point, which really made us stand apart as well, was on the final day when all eyes were on the counting day. And this is what we really put out. I mean, it doesn't get simpler than this, does it? And also, what perhaps made it unique was the manner in which we could break down that information for the viewer.
That's right, and I think what you showed on the right, it was the key differentiator. Everybody shows who's leading and who's trailing, but very few, in fact, no one can actually tell you the kind of filtering that we can do with elections. And this filtering, as we've been mentioning, was possible from 1951 onwards. So from trying to find out whether how Hindi or non-Hindi states were voting, to finding out how many seats Congress, who was holding in the last 2009 elections, have won again, to turnouts, to the Muslim influences, to stars, to the alliance patterns, to the margins. There was not a single detail, including trivia, which we were not able to show on the day of counting. And that's the kind of data play that we've never seen before in any Indian election.
I think we managed to speak less and show more. I think that's been a success story as well. For instance, these were all the seats, Vinay, which you see in saffron, were all Congress ruled.
That's right, and in one look you can clearly get a sense of how the BJP completely demolished the Congress in a direct contest. These are all areas where there was a bipolar straight contest, and as you can see, it's only saffron all the way. And that's really was where the visually, in one single stroke, and remember, it's like a T20 game on a counting day. It's very quick. You really need quick snapshots of what things are, and you need to make sense from visual graphics on what the results are likely to pan out.
Right, and we also had a 10-second refresh, so the details were coming in as real time as well, so we could give all the live coverage. Vinay Tiwari, thanks very much for taking us through all those nuances really of how this election coverage certainly stood out. And it stood out because CNN IBN partnered with Microsoft, and that's why we've been calling it the CNN IBN Microsoft Analytics Center. To take us through it further is the chairman of Microsoft India, Mr. Bhaskar Pramanik, joining us here on CNN IBN. Thanks very much, Mr. Pramanik, for your time here with us. First of all, thanks very much for this alliance. It's been very fruitful and very successful. What exactly did Microsoft set out to do?
I mean, if you look at the size and scale of the Indian election process, it was about getting 815 million people, of which 150 million were going to be first-time voters, and they had to select over 8,000 plus candidates. Just the sheer size, scale, duration and complexity of the elections made it an extremely interesting challenge. And what we wanted to show how everyday technology can now be used to create big social impact.
I have to ask, so what made you choose CNN IBN? Why CNN IBN?
CNN IBN brings a lot of credibility to the whole election process. I think they have deep understanding about psephology. They had multiple channels through which this information could be presented, not just through the TV, but across online channels. And also the passion which they showed in terms of how they wanted to get the right information to the citizens was something that we identified with very, very easily.
Of course, we were getting all the end products, we were putting out all the end products, but I'm sure a lot of planning went into this kind of technology really. So how exactly did Microsoft do it?
We had to get a large number of people from across multiple Microsoft businesses in India together. We took the help of Microsoft Research, we took the help of the Microsoft Development Center, we had people from Bing, we had people from technology, we had people from marketing get together. What we had to build was an analytics platform which could understand the trends, which could analyze, which could visualize, and then it could render across a multiplicity of screens. Because we wanted the citizens to also access the same information, we also created an election application which ran on the Windows phone, which ran on Android, and which also ran on iOS. It then gave even the people who were not viewers access to the same information. To us, that was the single most important thing about integrating all the different functions and businesses of Microsoft, and taking all our underlying technologies and being able to provide a simple set of solutions to the broadcaster, to the users, as well as to the citizens.
So this really has been a team effort. So what exactly did Microsoft and CNN IBN as a team achieve at the end of this project?
I think we achieved a lot. I think between CNN, IBN and Microsoft, we believed that we achieved the objectives which we had set out to. On election counting day, our website had over 10 million plus queries, and that testifies to the robustness of the system which we had built, on the platform which we had built. And finally, I want to thank CNN IBN for giving us this opportunity to work with them and to really have an impact on the election process.
Okay, thanks very much, Mr. Bhaskar Pramanik, the chairman of Microsoft India, taking us through how this has been a unique experience for them and also for CNN IBN. And of course, this has been a certainly fulfilling experience for all of us tracking elections as well, including Bhupendra Chaubey, our national affairs editor. Bhupen, you've seen these elections out on the streets, you've seen it from the studios, and you've seen it through the eyes of the Microsoft Analytics Center. How exactly have you found it? This has certainly been a very specific machine when it comes to elections.
Well, you know, as a political student, as student of politics, it was really impressive. And what really struck me this time was that we could have actually split the entire map of India on the basis of some filters. For instance, say out of the overall number of 543 Lok Sabha seats which went to polls, how many of those seats had scheduled caste population which was greater than 10%, 10 to 20%? Or if you had to say split the entire map of India between rural, semi-urban and urban, you could have done that. If you want to draw a comparison, say in terms of how many seats had greater turnout, say more than 50 to 60% in 2009, you could have done all that. Let me just elaborate with an example. For instance, if you wanted to figure out the answer to the question, how many of these seats had Muslim population which was greater than 10 to 20%, lo and behold, there you have all the answers. Not just in terms of the map, also in terms of an accurate figure. So, as a political journalist, it became that much more easier for me to construct a narrative. So say 162 out of 543 seats across the country, Muslim population between 10 to 20%. And how many of these seats went to the BJP? 95. That enabled us to somehow give that sense that where exactly that shift in Indian politics was really happening, Arunodaya.
Well, thanks very much, Bhupen. Yes, you know, apart from this, how the Microsoft Analytics Center functioned was also, it took elections 2014 closer to your homes. Remember, this has been an election that's been played out on social networking websites as well. How did we use that vis-a-vis the Microsoft Center? We'll tell you after a very short break. Do stay with us. Welcome back to this very special show where we're talking about how the election coverage of 2014 has stood apart from all the competition when it comes to CNN IBN, thanks to the Microsoft Analytics Center. Why has this been so brilliant and why has this been so unique? To take us through the technological aspects of it, we have Harish Vaidyanathan joining us from Microsoft this evening. Thanks very much for everything really and the kind of interactions that we've had vis-a-vis the machine. But just give us a sense of the technology that has really gone behind it, the brain behind it, because you've been behind all the planning and also the kind of impact it has made beyond you know, the television screens.
Sure. So you know, when we were thinking about building something like this, we were pretty clear that we wanted to have a single solution that would work both on air in the studio and allow the consumer to be engaged with this thing online. So we wanted to not just provide an in-studio solution, but something that works on PCs, phones, tablets, and of course within the browser. So
penetrate all mediums.
Penetrate everything, exactly. So wherever the consumer wants to have access to this, you will have continuity. And of course, in the studio, we had this beautiful 82-inch, you know, perceptive pixel display, which is, you know, incredible, beautiful, gorgeous, and allows you to tell the story the way you want it, right? And of course, all of this is powered through a single, you know, cloud at the back end. So all the data that comes in here essentially goes out to all the devices, all the browsers, everything from a single standpoint. And of course, you know, there was a lot of fun moments when the data comes in from a single source, and we were able to update this before even the Election Commission website got up to date. That was pretty incredible. And then of course, you know, the entire user interface, we spend a lot of time and effort in, you know, making sure it's scalable across all these different types. So you are able to tell the story and the consumer is able to follow the story.
And speaking of that, the kind of impact it really made as
Right.
far as the kind of hits it got. I mean, that was amazing as well.
That was completely incredible. I'm so glad that we chose a single cloud at the back end because this whole experience reached 150 million consumers. I mean, that's just staggering numbers when we think of it, right? Across all shapes and sizes. And just on the counting day, unsurprisingly, we had the peak. And we had to, you know, add numerous servers at the back end. But again, because all of this was cloud powered, we were able to do that really quickly. But again, you know, staggering numbers, 150 million. I mean, who would have thought, you know, we will have so many consumers being able to connect to this and interrogate. I think just on the last day, we had over 10 million unique queries. You know, people wanting to find out what's happening in my constituency, what's the story here. And again, a lot of focus on not just data, right, but the story.
I wanted to come to that, you know, because, you know, we're talking about numbers and that's evidence as to
Right.
why we're constantly saying that this has been a unique initiative. There you go, you have the evidence now, so
Right.
you've heard it from the man himself. But also, Harish, you know, we've been talking numbers, but we've been telling stories through the numbers. So it's
Right.
not just statistics, it's not
Absolutely.
just complicated numbers.
Yeah.
Tell us a little more about
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. In fact, one of my favorite stories is the Faridabad story, right? I mean, pretty early on, we were going through these reams and reams of data, and we found out that every general elections since 1951, the party that wins Faridabad forms the government. I mean, that was just incredible. Nobody knew this. So again, just the power of huge big data powered by this analytics engine that we put together. And of course, we worked with a partner called Graminer, who built all of this visualization and allowed us to scale this. And of course, the same user interface went over to Bing, our internet search engine, and so on. So it was just staggering. I mean, just the data transforming itself into stories, into insights, into stuff that you can convey to these end consumers. I mean, just incredible experience.
Right, and television is about the visual medium, and I think we completely conquered that as far as this
Absolutely.
election coverage is concerned. Harish Vaidyanathan, thanks very much. The brain behind what you've been seeing for the past many months when it came to the CNN IBN Microsoft Analytics Center.
Thank you so much. I think this was an incredible partnership.
So you heard Harish talking about a few stories, and that's what made this election coverage all the more interesting. Interesting facts, interesting trivia. We went beyond the data with the help of our Microsoft Analytics Center, and that's where I'd like to talk to you about how we compiled a few interesting trivia and facts right from 1951 to the present elections. Election factoids. If I click on this, it'll give you a host of issues, a host of options to choose from as far as some interesting details about election coverage is concerned. For instance, highest margins, lowest margins, most voters, fewest voters, BJP bastions, Congress bastions. So anything that you want to know as far as trivia is concerned, we have it for you right here on the center. For instance, the highest margins. This becomes interesting because Narendra Modi is on that by a maximum margin of 5,70,128. The last time someone saw that was in 2004, which was Anil Basu who topped it. Also, for instance, this has been an election in which we've been talking about the presence of women as well. Most women candidates. It'll give you all the details you need to know. So with all this trivia, we managed to make the coverage all the more interesting, all the more intriguing, so that this would be the maximum you could get out of any election coverage. Apart from getting you all the election 2014 coverage on your TV screens, we also managed to fit it inside your pocket, fit it on the palm of your hand, because with the tie-up with Microsoft, we managed to really enhance the IBNLive app. And to take us through how exactly this was different and unique throughout the coverage is the head of IBNLive.com, Arunava Sinha. Thanks very much for being with us. And just take us through, Arunava, how really this was a game changer really of sorts, because we know the kind of excitement that IBNLive has always generated.
Yes, for the first time people were using their mobile phones to access results, and that was a unique experience for people who could not possibly be in front of the TV set. So what we did was we created this unique app using the same technology that we've been talking about, and here people could not only see what was being thrown at them, but the best thing was that if they wanted, they could actually check for themselves what was going on. So for example, they could filter down by language, or they could filter down by type of constituency, and so on. So all this gave them a chance to play with the data instead of merely having it thrown at them. And the app, in addition to this, what it also did was it gave you information from earlier elections. It gave you a whole history of where we were earlier. This was very interesting. This is very typically mobile and the internet, where we took a look at what people were saying on Twitter and Facebook, and we brought it back in the form of figures, amalgamated figures. So how many tweets there were, which cities most of the things came from, what they were talking about. We managed to ask people what they thought would happen, get their viewpoint, and then of course the app actually goes on to give you the latest election news. It gave you a look at all the photos, the celebrations, and so on. So it was quite a unique experience all told, and we found that it was not just the web as accessed on the computer, but the mobile that changed the game.
Thanks very much, Arunava, for taking us through all those details of how this has been a standout application as well. And that's why we've been telling you, we've not just dominated the television screen space, but we've taken the coverage of elections 2014 right to your pockets, to your palm tops, to everything. And that's why this has been a unique experience covering what has been a unique election as well. And that's why we continue to say elections equal CNN IBN. Thanks very much for watching.